Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of my channel. My name is Therese and thanks for stopping by. Today I have for you guys an interview that I did with one of my close friends and fellow Australian filmmakers, Jake Bray. So check it out. Thanks for taking the time to sit and chat with me, Jake. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name's Jake and I'm a videographer and a filmmaker when I have the time to.
How long have you been a filmmaker?
Well, I went to uni back like a decade ago and did some short films there. They weren't that amazingly great, I guess, but the potential was there to grow from that. So I went to Southern Cross University in Lismore, and I was like basically doing a media degree. And so you had people that wanted to do radio. One of my mates, Nick, he wanted to basically get onto the Triple J radio station. He ended up doing it. He has his own segments and stuff like that, which is great. He was also one of the few that actually wanted to do short films. It's really unfortunate that I wasn't surrounded with people that were passionate about filmmaking. So it wasn't until I moved to Sydney probably about 3-4 years ago where I met a few other people, especially Takashi Hara. He was one of the main influences for me to want to do the films that I'd like to have done while I was in Sydney. And then, I joined up with a film club, Sydney Video Makers Club. You're among a lot of friends that just support each other kind of thing like that. And that's when I started to really apply myself, started doing short films and then started doing videography work. And currently that's where I'm at, just in my spare time still, but always learning and trying to apply everything that I've learned. My go-to is like sci-fi, fantasy, anything that's beyond the normal, because things that go above and beyond what you could expect in real life, I feel is something that in cinema is where you can actually explore different worlds, different things you could never experience in real life. Like if you wanted to see dramas about boyfriend, girlfriend having situations and that happens in real life anyway. So if you don't come across that sooner, you'll see it later. Or if you just live in a confined world, you can just go out and you'll eventually come across things like that. Like Lord of the Rings, I'm a fan of, the Marvel movies, grew up reading comic books. Things like that are things you will never see in real life, and it gives audiences a chance to experience something that they may never see.
Have you always liked movies when you were a little kid?
So when I was a little kid, I always liked playing games with my mates, and we'd always make up scenarios. Like one of my favorite memories that I can remember is it's like this ship. We're all on this ship. We've got like different beds, different things in the room all set up, and we basically make a storyline about what's going to happen. And you'll always have that dramatic moment at the end where some person has to stay back behind to make sure this thing happens so everyone else can escape. So you've got to really play on that. When you get older and you kind of realize what you're doing, you're basically making your own stories up anyway. Obviously that's influenced by all the films and movies that we watch. And I felt like being in that age bracket where you got to go to Video Easy on a Friday or a Saturday night, that whole experience was great because you get to all sit down and experience something together and again explore things you may not. I grew up in a small town, so we were very limited to a lot of the outside world, I guess. We never got to go see a city unless we're going for a holiday. Even then, when you're watching anything on film, you can kind of like just appreciate and enjoy what's happening. I really enjoyed being an audience of it. I really enjoyed reenacting or enacting storylines that we develop ourselves. For me, it kind of stuck with me while everyone else kind of grew out of it. That's something that I still appreciated, and I like telling stories when I can. If I can keep doing that, and if I can make a living off it, then that's great. And if I can, through videography, try to make a story out of it. So I did a wedding, but have it so it's like they've got their own life story that they can share with other people in a way that is offered up as something you'd see on TV. They've had a moment where they've got to experience what they saw on TV kind of thing. So if I can help people feel that, and if I can be a part of doing that with actors and stuff like that, then that's something I've always grown up wanting to do and try my best to keep doing it.
What would you say is the most difficult part of the process that you found?
Resource and time, I guess. because I work full time and I like money. And I know if you're lucky enough to be able to make a living off loving what you do, that's a great thing. But if you're in situations where that's limited, that kind of sucks. But then you can have a lot of time. And if you've got a lot of time, it's like, yeah, then you need that resources. So at the moment, I'm living on the other side of the Blue Mountains, and I don't really know many actors or filmmakers or anything like that, cast or crew. So it's kind of like I came over here so I could have more time to do that, which freelancing and covering events, covering weddings, stuff like that has gone up. But then doing short films and all the stuff where I get to show the artistic value of cinema has gone down because everyone's on the other side of the mountains. So to travel there and back would cost time. I feel like if you can get that balance of time and resources, and by resources I mean cast, crew, lighting, cameras. One of my favorite shorts that I did was with Yannick and Takash, where we were trying to every Wednesday meet up, just do something small, like a minute, 1 minute, a little thing. And we had this one night where we, for 2 hours, in that 2 hours, we kind of scripted up a loose little action sequence. We shot it all, and you can see in the kitchen where we're all meeting at, where Takash was at the moment. It was daylight, and then when we got outside, it was like dark because we were just taking a few takes. But we didn't have that much equipment. We had a camera and we had a lamp and this other little lamp. I think we got all the things that we wanted to do. We got to show off a little bit of hand-to-hand combat. I wanted to show that Yannick was going to do this little Hadouken Kamehameha thing, and it turned out really well. And it was like just a really simple thing that we came up with in 2 hours. And all this is all no budget. And I think that's a big thing, because if you've got a budget to throw at people and you go, can you take a day off tomorrow? Here's some money. That will give you a lot more freedom. You've really got to throw yourself out there, and I can really appreciate people that will be willing to live on next to nothing to go for what they want, because I know it can pay off really well. But I also have heard of stories where people just got mad depressed. I just want to try to find a balance with it all. But I'm also finding out here, not filmmaking, it kind of makes you feel a bit depressed not doing what you really want to be doing as well. So
Yeah, that actually ties into my next question about how, as you as a filmmaker have been managing with the lockdown.
there was this one little video that I put out a little, like 5 years ago. There was this radio competition I heard when I was living in Chatswood. It was only like a $200 first prize thingy, and you got to film it on your phone and do a little thing. And it was like a monkey. That's the reason why I've got him here, because in every one of my videos he's in them, just in one scene kind of thing. So, but I did one where it's like a soup monkey, kind of riffing on Banana Man and Super Ted. Love them, really appreciate them. As I'm older and I look back on the story of Super Ted, it's very bizarre. Like it's about this alien that comes and brings a teddy bear to life, and he gets his powers from Mother Nature, and then fights a cowboy, a skeleton, and this big oaf kind of thing. If you watch it, it's like, I have no idea how this is all happening, but it's happening, so you get to watch it. But yeah, so I've kind of like a bit riffing on that, and the actual footage itself is like, yeah, it's all right. It's on a film. It's all just kind of locked off because I'm trying to puppeteer kind of thing, that kind of stuff. So it's given me time to kind of go back in filmmaking. If you're not always trying to learn every day about it all, you're not going to be able to produce the best work you can. You've always got to just be always learning things. If you can always experience it and always making short film stuff like that, you'll always learn from every shoot. So this time, because I've learned a lot in editing and stuff, I just kind of got the stuff from 5 years ago that I would have just kind of left aside, or just felt like, yeah, okay, this is as good as it is, and instead try to go, how can I make it improve more? Added audio, because I didn't have audio on the first one, just had titles. So I got me and my wife, because we're in it, to actually voice over what we did in post, add a bit of sound effects, add a bit of visual effects. nothing too much, but enough to make it go, cool, this is a lot more quality to it. And I feel I want to do more on that with some of the past works where it's like, this was good. Now that I know a lot more, how can I make it feel better?
Do you have any commentary to say on the Australian film industry?
I know a lot of friends that have went to Hollywood as actors, and some have come back not getting the big break that they wanted. And I know they go there because the Australian industry isn't as big, and I get because of the population that we have in Australia. Like, you can only dedicate so much money to it. I also know in Australia we do subsidise like big films with like 50%, so that's why we get like the Avengers and all this kind of stuff coming in. And I think that's great. With Australian films being funded with Australian money, it gets a bit more convoluted because you've got to raise that money in Australia to be able to have the subsidies for the Australian government to go 50-50 with you. But we don't have an audience that supports it as much as, say, in America, because America is just such a huge country in terms of like people, but also in platforms and stuff like that. Like Netflix is the biggest one that's come up in recent years. But they've also had cable TV since the 80s. They've had so many different outlets that they've got things to produce towards, where in Australia we've still always been limited. And I know that gets very political because of Rupert Murdoch owning Fox, and Fox owns like 70-80% of the whole industry, so he gets to funnel what gets greenlit and what doesn't. And not that I've got an issue with that, I guess, especially now that Fox has been sold to Disney, so we get to see like Fantastic Four and all that, and X-Men in Marvel Universe, yeah. But I felt like there's a lot of restrictions that we've had to deal with, which doesn't really give it a fair playing field in terms of the whole global nature of it all. And I know there's been so many great Australian movies that were made, but the majority of them have always been with a low budget. And I feel like there's a lot of stories to be told in Australia, but they just need the resources to do it. So Alex Proyas, he did The Crow, Dark City, yeah. And I know recently he's actually got his own studio where it's got big green screen stuff like that, and he wants to support a lot of upcoming filmmakers and stuff like that. And now that there's a little studio like that kind of popped up, it'd be great to see more of that kind of movement, because the more opportunities people have in Australia to make films that can have a little bit more resources at a lot less cost and stuff like that. And then you've got technology that's becoming cheaper to make movies and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I just always felt like it's always been an underdog push for Australia in the bigger world if you don't have the access to a lot of resources like everyone else in the world has. Coming from Portland to Sydney, and in Portland, where I grew up, that's my hometown. It's like, yeah, you've got all these little resources you can use and you can make some great films and stuff like that, but you're going to struggle to compete with someone in Sydney. And so that's why a lot of American stuff has filtered into Australian culture, because it's easier to have things produced over there, and it's easier and cheaper for us to buy those rights to show them here than it is to produce our own. And that's why you've seen a decline in TV shows. Like, I'd never watch Blue Heelers because I thought it was boring, but those kind of shows in Australia were cheap enough to make, to show on TV. But then when you get, which I love Seinfeld, never really watched Friends, but all of those, it's like, well, we can just give a bit of money and have already made high quality stuff shown on our TVs. And it's kind of just, you've kind of seen it, overtake the market, or saturate it, sorry. And I'll see like Home and Away, Neighbours and that kind of stuff, try to be a bit more dynamic with the way they kind of approach it in terms of TV stuff. I'm not sure how it's going to go from this point on, where technology is kind of making the playing field a bit more level, but It's definitely, yeah, we've always had a disadvantage because we're always being not the continent down south on its own compared to everywhere else.
What would be your dream project?
I'm a fan of post-apocalyptic movies. I'm a fan of fantasy stuff, as I said, and sci-fi. We've got a whole bunch of like short stories and big, long character arcs that are based in like a fantasy sci-fi post-apocalyptic world kind of thing. And I think it combines everything that I've kind of really enjoyed from Evil Dead, Lord of the Rings, Mad Max, a lot of music that I've really appreciate. Like Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, they get very nerdy and very sci-fi and very fantasy and a lot of stuff, which I think is great because like a lot of the 80s music that's in the metal kind of area, Metallica has sang a few songs about H.P. Lovecraft, Cthulhu, whatever you want to say. And I'm a fan of that kind of that universe kind of thing. They talk about all these worlds that I guess would only ever exist in a fantasy realm, and to help people access that through media, through the arts, is such a unique opportunity that it's great when you get to give it to people. Like with Harry Potter, for example, people love that kind of thing. You could visit this other world if you go through the train station, stuff like that. And I felt like as an escapism, which I feel every movie is, if you're not a creator, you're a consumer. And so whatever you consume affects what you create, I guess. And I felt like I've always avoided consuming a lot of relationship dramas and stuff that you see on TV, like, simply because it's something that, again, you always come across in real life. So, if I had a lot of money to do whatever I want, I'd really want to create this this world that's not our world. Not just challenge the beliefs that we have here, but also offer the reasons why we believe in what we believe in as well. I think a lot of things that we have in living in Australia and all that kind of stuff, you realise what you have when you don't have it. Well, yeah, obviously that's how I kind of feel a lot of the time when I'm like talking about if you're lacking resources, lacking time, you don't realise what you have until you don't have it. So I moved out here thinking, yeah, I'll have more time being out here, but then I don't have a cast and crew to make the film and stuff like that. So it kind of echoes into my life. But if I'm able to make a big kind of universe where it has so many different kind of characters that everyone has an opportunity to relate to within a world that they have not seen or get to have new experiences from, that's something that I'd really like to do, I guess.
If you could give any advice to any budding would-be filmmaker, or for example, a younger version of Jake, what would you say?
Like, just learning. Like, I think I spent a lot of years going to uni, learning about stuff that was great, and built a foundation of what I know, what I appreciate about cinema a little bit, or what I appreciate journalism a little bit. But I didn't realise, so when I was going to uni, the internet access wasn't that great. And I feel like I learned a lot more from YouTube than I did at uni. I think I spent a lot more money at uni than I would have if I was just to go online and type in, how to be a filmmaker and stuff. Because there's a ton of amazing things there that people just put up, and they might get paid through an ad or something like that. But the stuff that they said in these videos, they'll teach at uni. Uni is great to network. So if you were to go to uni, pick a uni that you'll definitely find people wanting to do what you want to do. As I said, I went to one and it was just kind of someone wanted to do radio. Some people liked the idea of making films, but they just weren't passionate about it. And when you surround yourself with people like that, you don't get to feel what you want to achieve or what you want to do as a filmmaker. And I felt, I could find people on YouTube that taught me so much stuff that helped me so much more as a filmmaker, whether it comes to sound and audio and all this kind of stuff, because they talk about what they had experienced and how they could better it themselves, so you don't have to worry about doing it yourself. The internet is amazing, and that's how I found a lot of my friends that I made films with in the past and stuff. It was just through social media and that, and finding the people that share the things that you love. So I love action, just say for example, and so the friends that I've done a lot of the short films with who love action, we get to do the things that we love to do. And so growing up in Portland when I was a kid, when a lot of your friends grow out of that kind of storytelling, story making kind of thing, you're kind of left on your own and you can't really accomplish anything. When you go to uni, and it's a good uni, but it's not the one that has all of the kind of people that you want to surround yourself with, you're still not going to get there. It wasn't until I've kind of, made an effort to find people with the help of the internet to really start to accomplish the things that I wanted to do. So surround yourself with people that just, love the same things that you do when it comes to filmmaking, and use the internet to better yourself as a filmmaker, because I know you can go out and start shooting whatever you want on your camera, on your phone and stuff like that. But if you don't build and progress how to use lighting, how to frame effectively, you're really going to hold yourself back. And there's no need to, because at the moment we've just got everything at our fingertips. So
Thanks, Jake.